Hello, folks. Welcome to the program tonight. Special program. We got Allie, and she had a terrific podcast. Let's open the show with her.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to last season. I was sitting in the swamp, and Utah was staring the go-ahead touchdown in the face. I honestly thought for sure we were going to go sit in traffic with a loss to open the Napier era. And I don't know about you, but I didn't have a lot of hope in that moment. Rising and Utah had knifed down the field, and I didn't think we had a chance to get the stop. But then Amari Burney stepped in front of Rising's final pass of the night and made what was probably the biggest play in UF's entire season by intercepting his pass on the goal line. Florida basically walked it off with a massive play when it looked like they were left for dead. And what I want to see this year is who's going to be this year's Burney. Who is going to step up and be the hero when UF needs it most? Who's going to make the biggest play of the game? That's what I need to see. That's what I'm excited for. The entire nation is going to be watching this game on Thursday night. It is the start of college football. Who is going to win that game for Florida? Whose name do we remember after Thursday night?
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. If you can't get fired up after that, man, you ain't got an ounce of Gator blood in you, man. That was great. Allie, way to go. It got me all fired up watching that. Amari Burney, what a play that was. A good job on it.
It was a great play. Like, what a great tone to set for the season. Yeah. You know, that was pretty awesome.
You nailed it. It was dead in the water. Done. Finished. Defeat. You're going to walk out of the stadium, get in the traffic, and go, oh, crap, the Gators lost one. They should have won. And who would have thought that Burney, in his biggest moment as a Gator, I might add, his biggest moment as a Gator. Amazing. So, good stuff there. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm getting super excited for tomorrow night.
Yeah. Well, we got sweet and sour tonight, and that means we're going to have David Molton, who's the sour. We're going to pick this game apart. I have a little strategy idea. I think I've got a bet with Shane Matthews, and if I'm right, he's going to have to say it on the air. Right. And we'll talk about that, about Cam Rising. Cam Rising. So a lot about that. What a moment for Utah football. I had Urban on the show last week, and even he got a little bit of goosebumps when I said, think about this, Urban. Your two teams. You took Utah in 2004 to an undefeated record. And you would be in the playoffs today under Utah. Okay, they come to Florida, win 2 nationals, and now these two teams are meeting. And he went, "Wow!" It kind of gave him a little boot when I said it that way. So it's a big moment, isn't it?
It is. It's a huge moment. And, you know, it's interesting. I've interacted on social media with some Utah fans, and I interviewed a Utah beat writer yesterday, and they all have such respect for this program. But a lot of that respect does actually stem from the fact that Urban went from Utah to Florida. I mean, they feel like they're part Gator because they watched their head coach come here, which is such an interesting, I mean, if somebody leaves Florida, it's because they're fired, right? Like, nobody leaves Florida to go elsewhere, but Utah was, you know, a stepping stone for Urban Meyer to get to, you know, the top of the mountain, as he used to say. And it's really cool. They have such a good respect for our program. I think there's a mutual respect there. They're diehards, but it's just so different than like a rivalry with Tennessee or LSU or something like that. Like, I think most Gator fans will root for Utah the rest of the season after tomorrow night.
Yeah. So your fans are weighing in already. Allie's getting to be a little superstar now. Everybody wants Allie on their show. Her numbers are growing terrific on Peek Inside the Gators. She has a lot of great guests. Some guy this week named Eric was on there. Little inside baseball, talking about what Mara was like in his first game, whining because he didn't get in the Champions Club. And you set him straight. And you took a mistake on top of that.
I did? Yeah, I think I said Auburn instead of Arkansas at one point in the
No, you said to Eric, your husband, when he complained about not getting a steak because he wasn't in the Champions Club.
Yes.
He went to Outback and got him one. Forgot about it.
I did. I thought you said you corrected a mistake. That's what because I'm sorry. Later in that video.
A little different.
Yes, Outback. And because I can remember I was waiting for him at his condo. We had a test to study for, and he came home and he was so mad and he went upstairs and he slammed his bedroom door and he was so grumpy about it. And I was like, okay, well, what can I do to make this better? Food. And so I actually went and got a steak from Outback. And we have a little bit of different takes. He obviously lived it firsthand, so he's more bitter about it than I am. But I do think there is some life lesson in there about even when you control all the things you can control, sometimes things don't go your way. And I do think that that's a valuable lesson. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily the lesson Urban was trying to relay in that first Champions Club, but 20 years later, here we are talking about it. So clearly it was valuable.
You made that point in the podcast. That was a lesson learned. I thought that was excellent. It's excellent. Something you tell your girls, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great lesson.
Well, we do. You tell them all the time. You can control only what you can control, but sometimes that's not enough, and it stinks. But life isn't fair, and he lived, right?
Mama Wilbur giving those proverbs out there, telling her girls. I'm going to set the scene for people. There's a few people out there who say, well, now how do I get Alex podcast? And who is this woman? And which peak is she? So for those people who have been living under a rock, as your star is taking off here now and you're becoming quite popular all over, let's just refresh, okay? Let's talk about how many peaks have played Florida. I want you to go through the ancestry, talk about you and your husband, and let's let them know about the podcast. So you go now.
Okay. Well, my grandfather is Scotty Peak, and he was 49 to 52, but there was like a little bit of a break there where he fought in a war and then came back. And then my dad is Skipper. He played in the 70s. My brother, Scott Peak III, he played in the 2000s. And then I married Eric Wilbur, who was our punter from 2003 to 2006.
A very good punter too, by the way.
He was pretty good. He started every single one of his games.
Very good. That's years. Play. It was good.
And then I've got some, cousins, second cousins, things like that played football. I have a cousin that swam for Florida. There's a lot of Gator blood, circulating in me for sure.
For sure. And now she's a star in the family. And Eric has to take a back seat.
But Eric gets to put the kids in bed so that I can talk about football at night. So that's
You got the twins in bed. She has two sets of twins.
Yeah.
And my late wife used to marvel at that. Think, wow, how does she do that?
I tell people all the time that any number of kids is hard, right? And I don't know any different. I've only ever had two sets of twins, so I have no idea if it's harder than having one at a time or whatever. It's all I know.
Yeah. All right. You have a question from our friend Perry Mason, a real good guy, one of our regulars. Want to take a stab at that one?
Okay, what are you hearing about Smith, the number one recruit coming out of Florida? He's the wide receiver that's committed to Ohio State. Let me think how to word this without getting in trouble. Why
would you stop now? You always get in trouble, so go right in.
Right? So I have heard that that he is definitely open to looking around. I don't know that I believe that he will sign with Ohio State at signing day. I don't think that Florida is the only school that is still in it at the moment, but I know that he likes Florida, values his relationship with Coach Napier, and really values his relationship with DJ Lagway. So I think that there's a lot more to this story to be written before signing day.
All right, Allie's going to take your questions and take your compliments. There seem to be a lot of those coming in now. So we'll put this up next. And don't gloat too much, okay?
Okay. Oh, well, thanks, Terry. I appreciate it.
Did Eric write that under a pen name?
He might have. He might have.
We have a lot to cover tonight. I'm going to tell you my theory about Cam Rising. Brendan
Okay.
Martin is going to be checking in from Salt Lake. We reverse roles. He usually does this, I do that, but he's out there in Salt Lake. And right now I'm going to play our commercial, if that's okay with you, and we'll come back and see who's up next. We want to try to pay the bills if we can. Let's go and see what we can find. What's up next here? Okay. Jeffrey Melton talking about Swamp Kings. When I talk about Swamp Kings, I really enjoyed it. I think Jeffrey Melton did too. Jeffrey, your first take on what you saw there with that 4-part series on Netflix, and how did you feel as a Gator coming out of that thing?
Man, I was so proud. I felt like it was, a love postcard or something to the Gators, because it showed what kind of tradition we have here. It showed how much blood, sweat, and tears Urban Meyer put into the program, and it made everybody realize that a winning football program doesn't happen without a lot of really hard work.
That was the truth. That was the underlying theme. You want to win a championship, you pay a price, and Urban paid a big one, even with his health. And I think maybe what we're seeing now, since Urban is now going to be up for the Ring of Honor, maybe there's a different viewpoint of what people think about Urban Meyer.
So, I heard 4 or 5 years ago that, they were doing this whole thing where Spurrier was supposed to get the Gator fan base chilled out, because they knew they wanted Urban on the Ring of Honor a long time ago. But all these Gator fans had such a bad attitude towards Urban. They needed Spurrier's help to smooth things out. What have you heard about it?
All right, there he is, Jeffrey Melton bringing it, and Melton Law. He does talk about law once in a while, but he likes to talk about the Gators mostly, and they are, of course, terrific. They're the official law firm of the Florida Gators. Allie, your thoughts with that comment about Urban? What do you think about that?
I think Urban deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. I understand why Gator fans feel the way that they do, although I think if they understood more of the story, maybe they wouldn't feel quite as strongly about it. I think Swamp Kings helps in that. I do kind of feel like Swamp Kings is a love letter to those teams. It definitely highlights the best, but I don't think it sugarcoats things either, if that makes sense. I mean, I think you watch that and you think, man, Urban was intense. Urban was hard-nosed. Like, maybe he did take it too far sometimes. Like, I don't think you leave that and just think like, oh, that was, what an incredible coach, an incredible person. Like, I think you do see his flaws, but I think that you also see that he sees his flaws. And I think that that's important. I think he comes across as human. And I think that's what maybe the average Gator fan needed to see to be okay with him being up there, but he deserves to be up there. He's given Florida 2 of 3 national titles, and he fits all of the criteria. And he didn't leave us for Ohio State. He left us because he really was having a crisis, a health crisis, a crisis of faith. He needed to step away from football for a little bit. And I don't think anybody, including him, could have ever imagined that the Ohio State job would come open just 1 year later. The series of events for that even happening are completely unrelated to Urban and not anything that like he could have seen coming. So I think Gator fans need to let that thought go, but he deserves to be there. He has earned it.
Good stuff as usual. All right, so we'll take some comments from people and questions for Allie. Brendan will be checking in from Salt Lake. He's out partying tonight with the boys while Daddy's back here doing all the work. Okay,
doing all the work.
How'd that happen, right? So, anyway, all right. So we got a lot to talk about with Utah.
Yeah.
And that is the Cam Rising story will not go away.
Yes.
And I have a bet with Shane Matthews. I have a theory,
Okay.
just based on a hunch, just based on a hunch, that if he can play at all, let's say he's 75, 80%, okay, can't start at just the right time. And I know that Whittingham's not a real showbiz guy, but this is a moment I think that could work for them. Right sectors, all 50,000 people in the stands, read out, national TV, big moment. Rising is not playing, and about 6 minutes to go in the first quarter, he trots on the field.
Yeah.
How do you think the people that are Utah fans will react to that?
I mean,
Crazy.
Utah will go nuts. His own team would go nuts. And, I do think it's going to be hard to keep Cam Rising off the field.
I agree 100%. I agree. I knew you were on my side. See, we think alike.
He's a competitor. If there's any chance he can contribute in any way, he will want
to play, right? I mean, that's how he thinks.
That's what he's going to think. He won't be 100%. He's yet to have any, he's yet to be cleared at all. And we're, less than 24 hours until kickoff.
Yeah.
He hasn't taken a snap. So he's not, I don't know that he's capable of playing a full game at this moment without literally
to play on for a couple of series, inspire them, get a new turnover. You know what I mean?
It could absolutely, fire them up, be inspiration, give them something to fight for. Like, look what I'm willing to do on one leg.
Exactly. You get it.
But
this lady's been around football. She's seen her all her relatives. She knows she gets it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for him though. What this could have been a redemption game for him. What a terrible injury to be coming back from. We never want to see, a college kid suffer an ACL injury, but hopefully he's healthy next week.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the game.
Okay.
How it matches up.
Yeah.
There's the most exciting thing to me, other than seeing how Mertz can play, and I'm pretty confident he'll play well, are these young freshman wide receivers. I mean, I've already predicted the game and the score, and I've got Eugene Wilson catching 2 touchdown passes. That's how confident I am at it. I just think this guy's special. Yeah. I got Florida winning. We picked our scores last night. All 4 of us picked Florida. Homers, I know. But the fact is that this is such a huge moment right now for Florida football. It sounds funny playing Utah, right? I heard some really good comments that I saw, and a couple of people said, this is one right here. A guy I don't know named Gary Shaw said this, and I see it's your reaction. He said, funny how Kentucky, Missouri, Vandy get all this hype on what a great season they have. But Florida keeps getting told by the LSU guys how bad Napier is in year 2 in a rebuild. He's just not rebuilding from Mullen. This story goes way back to Urban. I kind of agree to that in a way.
Yeah. Well, I think there's levels to this, right? What is considered a successful season for Kentucky or Missouri or South Carolina or Vanderbilt is just not the same as what is considered a successful season for Florida. South Carolina goes 8-4 and people are excited.
Yeah, it's like
Florida
won the Rose Bowl or something, for crying out loud.
Correct. Florida goes 8-4 and people are like, okay, it's a building block. We'll take a year of that, but you better do better next year. It's just there's different levels to that. And, LSU, first of all, I haven't heard anything specific about LSU fans saying that, Napier's not good, but LSU doesn't want us to be good. We are competition for LSU. Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, those are not competition for LSU at the end of the day. They are second tier to LSU, but we're on the same level as LSU. They have no desire for us to be good. That hurts them. That doesn't help them.
Stuart Mandel, who's allegedly he knows football. He's been around. Picked Florida 3-9. I mean, I've never heard of that.
I mean, I think that's a pot stirrer. You're looking to get a reaction from one of the largest fan bases.
But he's not really that kind of a guy. He doesn't write Netflix stuff. That's why I don't get it.
Florida beats Utah tomorrow night, there's 0% chance that they're 3-9, because then you're saying they only found 2 other wins the whole rest of the season. And I don't see that happening. But I mean, I understand the writers that pick Florida to go 6-6. I think they do better than that, but I at least can wrap my head around why they come to that conclusion.
Fair.
I can't wrap
my comment. It's a fairly good. I mean, okay, I go with you.
Yeah,
with you on that.
I just can't wrap my head around the 3-9. That to me is somebody that doesn't watch a whole lot of Florida football.
Now, I talked to a couple of friends of mine who follow the game closely, bet on the game, know the game, and say, buddy, it's so hard to pick the games with the portal. You have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah. Harken back to, and by the way, first games in general are really hard.
Oh, so hard.
I go back to some big games for Florida. I mean, Spurrier's first game here was huge. Back to Carlos Alvarez in 1969 when they came out with John Reeves and hit the bomb on the third play and beat Houston 59-30 something. First games are hard. And so I don't know how this will play into it, but give me your thoughts on it.
Well, it's the same kind of concept that I don't think that polls should exist until about week 6, because we're totally guessing right now. We have no idea what anybody has right now or how this will play out. But Utah has been good, honestly, as long as dating back to Urban Meyer, truly, when he passed the reins over to Kyle Whittingham, Utah really didn't miss a beat. They continued that program that Urban had built there. They have consistency and they have discipline. They are the current reigning Pac-12 champions. And the only reason that they weren't in the playoffs last year is because Florida beat them in week 1. So this is a talented team. This is not the kind of season opener that Gator fans are used to. I mean, outside of when we played Michigan and Dallas, for the most part, Florida has played patsies at the beginning of the season. So when you don't know what you've got and the game is harder than normal, it is hard to predict what you're going to get. Then you do have a quarterback that comes in the transfer portal. And let's be real, 90% of the guys that are in the transfer portal are there because something went wrong at their previous stop. Now, some of them are there because their head coach switched, but the majority weren't seeing the field or weren't seeing the production that they wanted. So they felt like a change of scenery would help that. Right. And so those are all gambles. Those are all crapshoots. And so was it them or was it the place that they were at? That's what all these guys are about to find out, in weeks 1 and 2 and 3. It is incredibly hard to predict, but this game is important for Napier. The first 6 games are easier than the last 6 games if you're Florida. So if you can come out with a win in week 1, that's good. You're going to grab as many wins as you possibly can the first half of the season to kind of prepare you for the second half.
Beat Tennessee and Utah, you're golden. You're sitting there maybe 6-0.
Truly, you could be 6-0 if you win those 2 games, which is wild to think about. But the confidence that a victory at Utah would give this team coming home to play Tennessee at night, September 16th. And then the confidence that a win there would give sending this team into Lexington or sending them into Columbus or, Columbia. They mean a lot. There is that emotion to this game, and getting those wins early are going to help you get wins later.
Allie, did you pick this game yet?
I did. I picked Florida 24-7. No, I think 24-17. I'll have to go back and look. Okay. But I think Florida wins, but I think it's relatively close. I think it's probably relatively low scoring, mainly because I think Florida wants to rush a lot of the time. I don't think they're going to ask Mertz to do anything wild. I think they want him to get comfortable under this offensive line, comfortable in this jersey, and let your experienced backs carry the load, for you.
21-17, you said?
I think I said 24-17. Let me see if
I picked it 27-21 Florida, and this guy picked it, I think 35-6 or something like that. I don't know. Let's get. Let's see what that's all about. He's out there in Utah partying.
The problem is that you're not in Utah. You don't have my angle. It's a problem. If you knew all the insider information that I know, hanging out with all the people here at the Cajun Boil in downtown Salt Lake.
Cajun Boil in Utah?
I know. Listen, I told my friends here. I said, listen, we're not in Florida. Let me give you a little insight from a guy who grew up in a landlocked state. We don't want to eat Cajun or seafood in Colorado or anything that has the Rocky Mountains. So that's all I'm
Right.
just going to say.
Right.
Second of all, as I told you yesterday on the show, being the great prognosticator that I am, Cam Rising was not going to play. And here I am right. So you all can make fun of me all you want, but I am going to stick to my prediction because clearly I've got a beat on what's happening here in Utah because, you know, I am Buddy Martin's son, and B, I got Rocky Mountain blood in me. So I don't know what else you want from me, buddy.
Look, I know you won't listen to me, but I'm going to have Allie put you in your place, okay? Because she can do that. She'll take care of you.
Allie and I are friends, Dad. She considers me a good person, okay? All right.
Hold it. Let me do what you do to me. Oh.
All right. By the way, I've got severed emails that want you to calm down with your hornet problem, just so you know.
Says the guy who does it 1,000 times in my ear when I'm here. All right.
Listen.
Be nice. We have Allie here tonight. Don't be ugly, okay? Be nice.
It's okay. I'll steal it when you're not looking. Don't worry.
Okay.
No, in all seriousness, though, we rolled by campus today. I did fly out this morning, which, let me tell you, was probably one of the dumbest thing I ever did was get on the road at 4:30 this morning on I-75 because that was about as hair-raising experience as I ever wish to want to have again. Maybe when I didn't have a child and I didn't value life, I thought it was a little less mortal. I would think that would have been fun, but let me tell you, that was not the smartest move I ever did because there were a couple of times I'm pretty sure a tornado ripped over I-75 at one point and about blew me off the road. So I mean, hats off to Delta and Orlando MCO. Like I mean, we were only 45 minutes delayed on the tarmac. They looked for a window and they got us up in the air, and it wasn't a bad flight. But man, oh man, I couldn't believe we got out today.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, son. I'm really happy that it worked out for you really well. So
this is the dedication that I have to the show and to the people at Gator. That's what I'm at. So
this is Allie. This is his way of saying he wants to give himself a raise. That's what he's saying.
There's so much money in the coffers; it should be no problem.
Yeah. You took most of it to Utah with you, so there you go.
No, hey, that's what I got to do. I did hear your prediction. I think that's probably pretty sound. Did you say what was your final score?
24-17.
24-17, Florida?
Yep, Florida.
Yeah. But now, how much does no Cam Rising play into everyone's factors here? You think it was something that was already a predetermined deal, like a foregone conclusion? They were just playing it up to the end, or do you think that this is really something that's sort of new release?
I mean, I think he wants to go. I think he's probably still begging them tonight to let him go. And so,
right.
I think it probably went on this long because he was convinced that he could maybe, push it over the edge there. I think it's probably the smarter decision. Utah has the opportunity to repeat and actually it would be third time in a row as Pac-12 champions.
Right.
You're kind of protecting the long term, right? Not only just him personally, his career, which he has NFL aspirations, but the season. We don't get to determine whether or not they play in their conference championship. So, if you can rest him another week or two and have him for the rest of the season, that's probably the smarter move for Utah. And then the other aspect is if you do play him, he's not 100%, right? I mean, this is a kid that hasn't taken a snap in camp yet. So I can't imagine that he would be at 100%, but he's a competitor. He wants to see the field. He wants to help his team. This is kind of a revenge game for Utah. We kept him out of the playoffs last year, so I can see why he would want to. I made my score prediction yesterday, so before the news that he wasn't going to be the starter came out. I don't know that it changes a whole lot for me. I mean, I think if it was going to come down to a play by a particular player, there's a great chance it would have been from Cam Rising, and now that's gone from Utah. But I still think Florida's defense needs to show up. I think we need to see Florida's offense put together. But, with the new clock rules and our running backs, I really think the smart move for Florida is to dominate the line of scrimmage, run the ball, eat the clock, and get out of town.
Yeah, and we were having some interesting conversation at dinner. There's a big group of Gators here, actually, Lauren Meadows and Brent English, and just a bunch of guys that were that are here with us. And of course, we're talking about everything at dinner. And I think a lot of people were just said, well, we want to see what kind of decision making process Graham Mertz has, and what what that's going to sort of bring to the table. And I think that's, and then obviously, is Austin Armstrong, what's his defensive scheme, and how's that going to affect? Is he going to be, blitz? Are we going to bring 7 every time, or what are we going to see? I think that's a lot of the unknowns, but it was just sort of interesting to be about 10 of us at the table just discussing it, and I think that's a big unknown factor, and I think that's what will be interesting tomorrow night here in Utah.
By the way, just so you know, Brendan, while you're out there on expense account eating big steaks, I eat poached steaks for dinner tonight. Okay, just want to let you know. Spending all the money, so there you go. All right, we got David Molton standing by here. We got to get the
right now. I just see a picture. All I see is a picture
of Salt Lake. Downtown.
Okay. Well, I'm in Salt Lake, buddy, so I don't need the picture.
But I'm looking for you. See where you are.
It's all right over here.
I don't see you anywhere. I don't see you in this picture anywhere. So, are you really there, or did you go back to Denver? Whatever you did. All right.
Listen, I'll take Denver over Salt Lake any day. All right, that's my home.
Well, there's no game there, Brendan, tonight. So
it's because they don't know how to play football, college football in Colorado, and you can have another discussion for Dion and his whole
Alec, can you get him under control, Alec? Could you please get him under control, Alec? Would you?
Look, right. Well, that's to be determined with Showtime and the People's Republic of Boulder, Colorado. We'll see how that goes down.
Brendan, my son, have a good night tonight. All right, thank you. Good job.
All right, Allie, I just want you to know, the only reason I came on tonight was to say what's up, go Gators, and make sure that I'm still seen with a famous person like yourself. So
stop trying
you better
to
be loud for us in the stadium for those of us that are here back at home.
Listen, I'm right. I'll be in the press box, so I'll tell the other guys to get it on. I'll be filing a story tomorrow night from the press box. We'll be going to a post-game press conference and having all that stuff. So I'm actually working here. So,
okay,
but
all right.
And I will say this before everybody, because Buddy won't say it. Hey, smash the subscribe button down there. Yeah. Make sure you do that. And check out GatorbaitMedia.com. Right now, 24 hours left. 24 hours left on All Access annual membership. 20% off with code WINNING. Put code WINNING in, get 20% off All Access annual membership, and join us on GatorBait. And with that,
hang on.
Allie,
I got
buddy,
this is Alex right here.
Mile high salute.
This will get you fired up right here before you go.
Okay. I'm going to take you back to last season. I was sitting in the swamp and Utah was staring the go-ahead touchdown in the face. I honestly thought for sure we were going to go sit in traffic with a loss to open the Napier era. And I don't know about you, but I didn't have a lot of hope in that moment. Rising and Utah had knifed down the field, and I didn't think we had a chance to get the stop. But then Amari Burney stepped in front of Rising's final pass of the night and made what was probably the biggest play in UF's entire season by intercepting his pass on the goal line. Florida basically walked it off with a massive play when it looked like they were left for dead. And what I want to see this year is who's going to be this year's Burney. Who is going to step up and be the hero when UF needs it most? Who's going to make the biggest play of the game? That's what I need to see. That's what I'm excited for. The entire nation is going to be watching this game on Thursday night. It is the start.
Well, there you go, Brendan.
I love it. Good job. Good producing right there. Good job, Allie. Always the best.
I've done a great job on that too, by the way, just so you know.
Allie, he's really got attitude these days. So you go. It's all yours now, guys. Good night. Going back to
Brendan. I gotta go get.
Bye, Brendan.
Sweet.
Bye. Good night, everybody.
Sweet and sour. I got to get the sour in here. Well, I tell you folks about Titan MRI. he's the sour. Let me do this. Go get David, and because his contract requires that I got to go at a certain time, or he gets mad. So let's say good evening to David. He's sleeping right now. That's okay. So I'll go and tell you about Titan MRI, by the way. Titan MRI is worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay cash or card with same-day scheduling if you'd like. You can start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting Gainesville from Ocala, Marion County, the villages all over. TitanMRI.com. All right, David, good evening to you.
How is everybody? And I asked that, everybody watching and listening, I hope you and your families and everybody made it through the storm okay.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to say the same thing, but I got distracted by that guy, Brendan, out in Utah. So, and Allie and I couldn't bring you back to reality, but you're right. We are thinking of all our friends out there, and it's not over. I just found out today there was a tornado here in my town that wiped out some houses. I didn't know that. I remember the tornado warning at 7 o'clock this morning. I got on my phone. But anyhow, David, you all right in Jacksonville?
Yeah, Jacksonville was amazingly lucky. This storm went further north and further west than what they thought. Georgia, coast of South Carolina. It's even going to go, I think, into Wilmington and the coast of North Carolina. This thing's going to cause a lot of, and with full moon and the storm surge, there's going to be a lot of destruction with this, unfortunately.
Yeah, been through this too many times. Let's hope there's no loss of life, but there always is. Well, we wish all the people our thoughts and prayers are with them. And now, Mr. Sauer, here's Sweet.
Well, listen, if you're the Gators, I don't think you could have asked for, this is a break. You need breaks in sports. People don't want to hear luck, but you need breaks. And to get Utah without their starting quarterback, that's a break. And to get them without even their backup quarterback. Now this guy has experience, even though he's a walk-on. He did lead a win against Washington State last year. But come on now. This is a nice break for Florida, and let's see if they can take advantage of it. Allie, to me, I think then Utah will be more conservative offensively and maybe get into a little bit of a slobber knocker. And I think Napier would love to play 12 slobber knockers, to be honest with you. I think he wants to slow it down, run the football, and, first one to 21 wins.
Yeah, I don't know that Gator fans are going to be that excited about the type of offense that I do think Napier wants to run this year. We are not going to see a fun and gun, I don't believe. I think he wants to pound the rock, eat the clock, get out of Dodge 12 times over, essentially. But yeah, Florida did get a little bit lucky here. And I hate to say that when it involves an injury, but I think the writing was on the wall for this, though. He hasn't taken a snap in fall camp. Bryson Barnes is who's going to fill in. You mentioned he was a walk-on. I think he's on scholarship now. But he's a senior. He's played 13 games from them. He did start Washington State last year, which he won. But I talked to a Utah beat writer yesterday. I made a video with him prior to the news coming out that Cam Rising would not be starting. And he just said, essentially, it makes Utah one-dimensional, that they are going to basically rely pretty heavily on their running game, that they're not going to ask Bryson Barnes to do anything spectacular, whereas Cam Rising could be called upon to attempt to win the game. That's not going to be something that they want or ask of Bryson Barnes. But they will probably also play Nate Johnson. And I was really interested in reading a lot about him because it kind of almost sounds like what we used Tebow as in 2006. Like, he has played sparingly, but when he has played, he's been electric. He's one of the fastest people on the field. He gives them that kind of change of pace, play, essentially. And so I do think we'll probably see both of them. That's how they're going to avoid being one-dimensional, is using two quarterbacks.
Now, you got to help me out here. Are the Gators starting a first-time guy at center? Is the center going to be able to go, or is he hurt and he's out?
Slaughter.
Slaughter is who I think I don't know that they've said 100% that Slaughter's starting, but that's the insinuation, I believe, is that Slaughter will be starting. And that, that could be a problem. Florida likes what they've seen out of Slaughter in camp, so hopefully it will be okay. But new center, new quarterback, Most of the offensive line is going to be brand new. We like the depth. We like what we have. They've never played together. And so there's a whole lot of in theories going on at the moment for Florida's offensive line. Truly, that's the same thing on Florida's defensive line as well, though.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see how Florida handles it at the point of attack, quite frankly. The 4 new offensive linemen, a very difficult place to play against 9 returning starters on defense for Utah. And then, can the interior of the Florida defensive line hold up to a team that's going to challenge them? It's going to line up and say, stop us. We are not going to throw the ball until you prove you can stop us. And so, I think the first quarter, to me, sometimes, Allie, it's a feeling out process between fighters. I actually think these two teams are going to meet and get in a corner and go at it hard early, very physical, very early. And then after the first quarter, kind of look at the other and say, how you holding up?
Yeah. So I think this game is going to be won and lost on the line of scrimmage, which I know we say about college football all the time. But I think in particular, when you look at Florida's offense, when you look at what Utah has lost, not only are they not going to have Cam Rising, they're not going to have Keithy either. They're starting tight end from last year who had over 100 yards and a touchdown against us. I really do think we're going to rely heavily on our line play. Utah returns 3 of 5 offensive linemen, but their left tackle is a true freshman. So if Florida's looking for a place to exploit and attack, it should be right there because the rest of the line is pretty experienced. And, we've talked a ton about size difference. Florida's lines are now massive. They're bigger than they were last year. But interestingly, Utah's starting 5 on their offensive line are actually larger than Florida's starting 5 on their offensive line, which I found kind of interesting because in general, Florida is much more big-bodied than Utah is. But, Florida's strength in theory should be their front 7 on defense. And if they can stop Utah from moving the chains early, I think that bodes well because Cam Rising isn't there to bail them out.
This would be, and I understand beating a quote unquote backup quarterback, but this would be tremendous. I mean, we go back 2-3 months. I mean, this was a 10+ point spread that the Gators were an underdog in it, and Utah has not lost at home in 3 years. And let's be honest, even, Buddy, Allie, if I had said to you guys, hey, Gators are going to go into Utah and get a W. Okay. I think Allie, even you would have went, really? You sure about that? Yeah. Did you say against Tennessee? I said, no, at Utah. Okay. And to think that they've got a real puncher's chance now in this game. Okay. I think's remarkable in and of itself. And I hope that the line of scrimmage is up to it. I hope they can drag this game. I mean, think about it. If it's a close game, late third quarter, the pressure's on the home team. The pressure's on the quarterback who, has only, played one game in the last couple of years for them. So, drag this sucker out, keep it close, and see what happens.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, buddy. No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say it's down to 4, I think, the line, which usually they give the home team somewhere between 3 and 4 points. That's just your home field advantage. So I think we could consider this game a pick 'em at this point, truly. And I don't think Florida will be affected by Bryce Eccles Stadium. I understand that Utah thinks that it's intense. It would be the 13th smallest stadium if it were in.
It's not exactly Tiger Stadium.
No. So I'm not saying they're not loud. I'm not saying it's not going to be a fun environment, but I don't believe that it's going to be an environment that negatively affects Florida. If it is, then it's going to be a problem for the entire season because this is going to be one of the very smallest stadiums that Florida will play in this entire season. Gator fans have to be excited. And I will say, there's going to be naysayers. If Florida wins tomorrow night, there's going to be naysayers on Friday that say it doesn't matter because they beat them they beat them without Cam Rising. But by the end of the season, if Florida finishes the season with a better record than they did last year, no one's going to remember who started for Utah. They're just going to note that Florida beat the Pac-12 champion or the almost Pac-12 champion or however the rest of Utah's season plays out.
Good stuff there, by the way, by both of you. Look, I'm not going to make sure I don't keep Allie too long. She has two sets of twins back there. And when you got to go, I understand. You're past your time, but hang on if you want to. But I want to get one more point across. If you take part in this, great. If you can't, I'll say good night and thank you. But anyway, good job today, Allie. Very nice. I just got this feeling about this game that is so important all of a sudden. It's become a huge game for Billy Napier, in my opinion. Because, number one, as Jimbo Fisher says, first games are hard, period, always. Mm-hmm. Number two, we know about the bad taste in everybody's mouth about last season. And now, as David says, the point spread's dropping. There's obviously some people who know something, and that is that this game, this game is winnable by Florida, and I think it's going to be an opportunity for Napier to make a statement here, which he badly needs in year two to get things going. So all of a sudden, I got like big game goosebumps on this thing. I don't know. Am I by myself on that, Allie?
I mean, it is a big game. I think it's always a big game. The first game of the season. Last year, though, Utah was a big game, and Florida won. But people still weren't really pumped by the end of the season with how it played out. But I think it's a big game because this schedule is hard. This team is a rebuilt roster. You got to take wins anywhere you can get them because it gets harder as the season goes on. So you can set the tone early by beating Utah. It's going to kind of feel like an uphill battle the entire season if you start out with this loss.
David? Let's get your take on that, and we'll say goodnight to Allie. Let her go take care of her babies.
It doesn't feel like a must-win to me, but it does feel now like they have to be competitive. Also, it would have been one thing if the star quarterback from Utah was playing and Mertz looked okay in comparison. Now, if you're a Gator fan, when this game's over, win or lose, I mean, don't you want your quarterback to be the best quarterback on the field tomorrow night, or that would concern you? So I don't want to get into moral, defeats and style points and what have you, but there would be a couple things if I'm a Gator fan in which I'm like, listen, with a second, third string quarterback, we got to be A, competitive against these guys. Okay. And B, when the game's over, I want everybody to go, well, at least we had the better quarterback. Those two things I think I need to take out of this game. If there are certain areas that don't hold up, if, the offensive line, 4 new starters on the road, okay, first-time center, the interior of the defensive line, I'm circling the Tennessee game anyway. To me, that's, buddy, everything you said, I'm thinking about the Tennessee game. But there are a couple things I need to see tomorrow night.
Yeah, good point. Because it is the first game for me, like the old cliche goes, you only have one chance to make a first impression, right? And I think it's a really important message that he has to send tomorrow night. Allie, thank you. Great stuff, okay?
Take care, Allie.
Kiss the girls goodnight. Thank you.
I will. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Allie. David. She's terrific, by the way.
Yes, she is.
So I want a couple of things I want to ask you about that aren't related to the Gator game. Did you see the Ryder Cup team?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, and I don't want to read off all the names. What jumped out at you?
Well, I thought Keegan Bradley should have been on it for a couple of reasons. The biggest of which is, he's an excellent driver and he's an excellent putter. So to me, he'd be terrific in alternate shot. Plus, he's got Ryder Cup experience. And so to me, he fit every criteria. He's a former major champion. He's won twice this year. One of his wins was in an elite elevated field. So I think I would have found a way to have Keegan Bradley on the team.
Why wasn't he?
Well, I think he, it seems as if Zach Johnson got a lot of input from the 6 automatic qualifiers and said, basically, who do you want? Who do you want to pair with and what have you? I will say it was a very European selection by Zach Johnson. I mean, we in the United States,
what do you mean?
Well, we in the United States have just put the best darn golfers on the team. And Europe's always had a thing about chemistry. And Europe many times, buddy, has put an older guy who you looked and you went, man, what are you doing putting Sergio on the team again? And he hasn't played well in a couple years. And then Sergio goes 3-1 in the Ryder Cup. Same with Poulter and Woozy and, Faldo in 95 when it looked like he was done. All right. And they put Faldo on the team and he turned out to get the winning point against Curtis Strange. Just Europe always took chemistry and took pairings into account and made one or two selections that the ranking said they shouldn't have done. And yet, why is it that Europe for 30 plus years has won far more times than us? And oftentimes because of selections like this. So Zach Johnson, I think, listened to the 6 guys who qualified and asked them like Scheffler picked Burns. I mean, they played together. They like each other. Their games complement each other. Plus, Burns won the match play this year. But Scheffler basically said, I want him. Okay, boom. He's on the team. Yeah. Things like that. I mean, clearly Spieth wanted to play with JT. Clearly. And so that's why JT had been, JT was on the team for 3 weeks. We all knew that. I mean, when JT entered the European event, that's 2 weeks before the Ryder Cup, I mean, why in the world would JT enter that event unless he didn't want to go 6 weeks without playing a competitive round of golf before the Ryder Cup? And so when he entered that event a week ago, you knew he was on the team. So, we'll see. Hey, they give the captain the captain's picks. Okay. Now, the guys need to go out and produce. Yeah. And if they do, he'll be heralded. And if they don't, he'll
be trashed.
He's going to get crushed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so big game Sunday night. I mean, 2 teams that have great expectations. Mm-hmm. A team that's trying to get back to be relevant and is getting there pretty well. Terrific quarterback. We've heard about some of the other players they got. And FSU, LSU, I keep thinking to myself, LSU's just going to crush them. I think maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking about the old FSU. Lots of talent. Brian Kelly's team was awfully impressive. I don't know. Who wins that game and what does it mean to the loser?
Well, I think Florida State, talent-wise, is very comparable to LSU. I think LSU's got a little more talent and a little more depth. But, LSU's missing a decent number of guys here. They got the key linemen suspended by the NCAA 1 game. They just announced that one of their top running backs isn't going to play. But, buddy, what I keep thinking is if 2 teams play basically a home and home, even though it was technically a neutral and neutral, and they're comparable both years, what are the odds of a sweep? There's a part, Florida State got out of New Orleans last year with a 1-point win. I mean, would it surprise anybody if these 2 teams have a hell of a game and LSU gets the ball last and Daniels takes them down the field and beats them 35-31?
No, you're right. And I like Daniels too, by the way. A lot of people don't, but I do.
I think it's going to be an NFL-type game. I think the quarterbacks and the offenses are going to control the game late, where the defenses have given them every look they have, and I think the offenses in the final 15, 20 minutes will go up and down the field and score. So I think ultimately the game goes over, and I do think it'll be an NFL game in terms of last team to have the ball, I think, wins.
David, don't you think LSU out-talents FSU?
I do. A little bit, but Florida State, I mean, he has done a tremendous job in the portal. They are finally above 50% in terms of their recruiting and transfer numbers, in terms of having the type of players that you need to fit the criteria to be considered a national champion. I also think it's an advantage, buddy, for Florida State to play them earlier in the season because LSU does have more depth than that. But your depth's not tested week 1 as much as it would be tested week 10. So, buddy, I think LSU is going to win. I have said for months, I think Florida State's going to lose close to LSU. I think they're going to lose close at Clemson. And then I think they're going to run the table. And they're going to be in the ACC title game, and they're going to win it. And they're going to be sitting there with 11-2 with a 9-game winning streak. And they're going to be saying, hey, it's time to put a 2-loss team in the playoff. and we'll see if they get in or not. Probably not, but that's my Florida State prediction on the year.
Girl up in Pennsylvania, I know pretty well, wants to say hi to you, my daughter Rebecca. So she's up in. She is.
Hi, Rebecca.
Yeah. So Robert Turner is one of those guys getting really jacked up now for the season, and I like it when people get excited. And
totally.
I'm a little bit myself, David.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To me, the college football season gets underway tomorrow. It did not get underway with week 0 last Saturday. I was not into it at all. I didn't watch it play.
I didn't watch it.
Nope. I didn't. To me, the season kicks off. We got 2 big things. We got a few actually, but we got the Gators obviously in Utah, but also, think about what a moment it is for UCF to run out onto the home field with the Big 12 logo on their jersey. I mean, the 25-year odyssey.
And the Big 12 looks better than it did when they joined it.
Yeah. So, it's a hell of a moment in Orlando tomorrow night as well.
Well, I have a good friend out in Colorado who used to cover CSU closely, knew a lot of stuff, is still friends with Dave Logan, the play-by-play man for them, former NFL player. He told me on the show that my friend Joe Williams said that they are really afraid that Colorado could get trashed, that they get beat up. They said that Deion's son is a good player, but personally, they got nobody to block. So I asked him what happens then. He said, well, they could get beat bad. And Deion's done an incredible job of getting people enthusiastic out there. I mean, saw at the spring game and all the kind of things. I know there's a lot of people don't agree with me. I like Deion. I like what he represents. I like what he did at HBCU. But long haul, and I asked my friend Joe, well, what happens to him? He said, well, in 2 years, if he hasn't won, he'll be gone. If 2 years he wins, he'll still be gone. So what do you think?
Oh, I think they're going to have a very rough year this year. First off, they have a very challenging schedule to replace 84 new players. And it seemed as if he got rid of 30 guys just to get rid of 30 guys, that he would have actually been better off keeping some of the ones that wanted to stay. And they're over under 3.5, buddy, and I got the under. I mean, I think they're going to have a very rough season. Very rough. Now, I'm a Deion guy also. I do. I like him, although I didn't like what he said the other day in which he basically...
Yeah, I'm not a Seminole. That's kind of a betrayal, isn't it?
I'm not a Seminole. Come on now. I mean, you can point out that technically you got your paper somewhere else, but come on now. That school and the people there were pretty good to you. Come on now. It's short-term memory here. But I actually think he's going to be at Colorado longer because it's going to take him longer to win.
David, I'm going to stop calling you sour, okay? Because we didn't have one spat tonight.
Can you tell we're both really excited about the season kicking off tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's a little dopamine, got a hold of us there, It's good. Always love having you on, David. It's great stuff, man. Appreciate you.
Well, thanks for inviting me. And, once again, I hope everybody watching and their families and their friends made it through Adalia okay. And enjoy the game tomorrow night. And every Wednesday, buddy, I'm here if you need me.
Do. We always love having you, David. Appreciate it. You and Allie make quite a pair, too. So I just like to sit back and listen to you guys talk myself. So thank you. Have a good weekend and enjoy the football season.
All right. Take care.
The great David Molton, as he does every week, bringing information, insight. Thank you. All right, folks, I'm going to remind you about my sponsors I mentioned earlier, TitanMRI.com, Meldon Law, we appreciate so much, and our friends at Renstar Medical Research, who have been supportive of me for a long time, and this show, even when I was on radio. They believe in what we're doing here in our town, and they do wonderful things for our community. They're great stakeholders downtown Ocala. They also have our health in mind. And one of the things they do is this high-quality patient-centered clinical research facility is they do clinical studies, to find out more about what we need to take care of our health. And they have these clinical research trials on things like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraine, fibromyalgia, things like that affect us and affect our age group especially. So it's important that if you want to be a part of these trials, you can call them, or you can actually go to redstar.net, see what it's about. If you want to sign up for it, if you qualify, it's a possibility you get time for your travel and compensation for your what you're doing there. So they've been doing this a long time. Since 1998, RenStar participated in more than 700 clinical trials. Continues to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. RenStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. I'm Buddy Martin. Tomorrow the show will be on earlier because of the game. We'll probably go about 4 or 5 o'clock. We'll have our regular crew, Orange Blue Bloods. Ben Troop will be here. Franz Beard will be here. Lauren Meadows will be coming to you from Salt Lake. So we're going to set the tone for tomorrow night. It's exciting to have football back again, isn't it? College football underway. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to our guest tonight, the wonderful Allie Peak. We love her. David Molton bringing it, and even Brendan Martin coming to you live from out in Salt Lake. So we're grateful for all that. We're grateful for you. Don't forget, Brendan would kill me if I didn't say this. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button for our program and help us out in this. We really love what we're doing right now. We think maybe we're onto something here. So we'll leave you with this and say good night and catch up to you again tomorrow on the Buddy Martin Show and our live correspondence for out in Utah. Have a good night, folks.